Well, I did not expect to be firing up a live stream at 4:45 today, but the Cleveland Cavaliers and Jarrett Allen have signed a massive 3-year contract extension that will tie him to the Cleveland franchise for the next 5 seasons. We'll break down the numbers, what it means for Jarrett, what it means for the Cavs and Kenny Atkinson, all coming up in just a second on the Ultimate Cavaliers Show. What's up, guys? Mikey McNuggets here. We're going to keep this real quick and short. Try to get it done in 15 minutes or less. But in case you missed it, in the last hour, the Cleveland Cavaliers and Jarrett Allen have agreed to a 3-year, $91 million extension, which will keep Jarrett Allen in Cleveland for the next 5 seasons. He has 2 more years on his current deal at $20 million apiece. And then he gets those 3 added years from the extension at just under $31 million apiece. So in total, Jarrett Allen's contract from today through the extent of the years he signed for is 5 years, $131 million. Like I said, it's $20 million this season. It's $20 million next season. And then for the following 3 seasons, that number gets bumped up to about $31 million. It was a 3-year, $91 million extension on top of the 2 years for $40 he had currently left on his contract. So what does this mean? Well, first and foremost, from Jarrett Allen's perspective, he's getting paid like the player he is in today's NBA. We just saw Isaiah Hartenstein sign a deal with the Oklahoma City Thunder for 3 years, $87 million. So about $29 million a year. And if you compare Isaiah Hartenstein to Jarrett Allen's the superior player. So he was on arguably one of the best bargain contracts in all of basketball prior to this extension at just $20 million a year. He's a top 10 center in the NBA, getting paid like a top 25 center, top 20 center really in the NBA. So now he is getting a deal that fairly compensates him for his status among the NBA's best centers. It also keeps the core 4 together, theoretically speaking, at least on paper, for the foreseeable future. The Cavs agreed to a 3-year extension with Donovan Mitchell this summer. They agreed to the rookie max extension with Evan Mobley this summer. Darius Garland signed the rookie max deal in his own right a couple years ago, and now Jarrett Allen has 5 years left with Cleveland on his Spotrac profile, I guess, tying him to the Cavs. Now, will he remain a Cav for all 5 years? That remains to be seen, because the very first thing I thought of when I saw the news and the details of this contract are, that's a very tradable number at $31 million per. And if the Cavs were looking to deal Jarrett Allen, he has a lot more value locked up on a long-term contract at a very reasonable number. 20, 31, 31, 31, or 30.3, I think is the exact number. Very reasonable number. And he has more value now than he did prior to this extension. So if the Cavs do decide at some point, Evan and Jarrett don't work together, now you have a higher salary to try and match in today's world with the new first apron of the luxury tax and the second apron of luxury tax, where you can't take in more salary than you're giving up in certain deals, depending on where you fall on that scale. So this new number of 30.3 million, 31, whatever the exact per year is, makes it easier for the Cavs to navigate some potential trade possibilities down the line. In a way, it's frustrating that the Cavs are essentially just running this back, but to me, this extension signals something pretty clear. Kobe Altman and the front office think that the issues the Cavs have run into the last 2 seasons, where they weren't able to get past New York in the first round or Boston in the second round this year, were a coaching issue, not a personnel issue, because they have doubled down on this core 4 and this roster, and they are going to see what Kenny Atkinson can get out of them with new coaching, with the new offense, with the new defensive philosophy, to figure out, okay, is this core 4 and does this group have the ceiling we thought it potentially could when we put it all together? And that's a question that remains to be seen, whether or not the Cavs are right, or whether or not some fans who say this collection of players can never win at the highest level together. But we won't know until we see what Kenny Atkinson has in store for this group. And this move signifies to me more than anything else that this 24-25 season, and for the most part, I'm going to give him the full season. It could be till the trade deadline, is truly a runway for Kenny Atkinson to see with his own eyes, Can the two bigs play together? Can Darius and Donovan coexist in the backcourt? Can I get the most out of this core four that I need to win in the crunch time moments of a playoff series when push comes to shove and our backs are against the wall? The beginning part of the season is now a runway for Kenny Atkinson and the rest of his staff to put these guys into their system, see who can thrive and who can't. And if they can't, all right, it's time to flip them for someone who can fit the system. And now the Cavs do have the pieces and the contracts to be able to negotiate some more deals than they were previously able to, based on the lack of matching salaries you need in today's NBA. From Jarrett Allen's standpoint, go get paid, fella. Hell of a deal. You are absolutely worth $31 million, whatever. We'll just say 30.3 for the sake of this discussion. You are absolutely worth $30.3 million in today's NBA if that's the going rate for centers. If Isaiah Hartenstein's getting $29 million, Jarrett Allen, you certainly are worth 30. And as the salary cap and the new NBA TV rights come in, that's going to look like a bargain again. Jarrett Allen went from being on one of the best bargain contracts at $20 million a year to what will be one of the best bargain contracts in basketball at $30 million a year if he just stays the player we saw last season. But big picture-wise for the Cavs, I think the one takeaway from this is, okay, Kobe Altman's pushing all his chips on the table. They are doubling down on the core four, saying it was a JB Bickerstaff problem, not a roster construction problem. And now that we have Kenny Atkinson in place, he'll be able to take us over the hump and help us reach heights that we were not able to reach with the previous regime. And if this core four and this roster doesn't fit together in the fashion that Kenny Atkinson wants and Kobe Altman wants and Mike Gansey and the rest of the front office wants, now we have some more pieces we can trade that have more value than they did previous to these extensions. Darius Garland, we talked about all summer, his value was low. It was tough to trade that contract for the player he was last season if he plays a little better. But Atkinson still decides, I don't like how that guard combo works. His cap number, with only 2 years left on his deal instead of 3, becomes a little more palatable for a team to potentially trade for. I think that's the right amount of years. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. Allen now, with the extension, is certainly a more valuable commodity, and you can get more in return for Allen than you would prior if Atkinson decides, you know what, I can't play with these two non-shooting bigs together. I need more spacing to run the offense how I want. So big picture, it's a good day for the Cavs. Worst case, and by worst, I mean, it's not even a best or worst. It's option A. You just signed a good player to a really good contract. Option B, if it doesn't work and the two bigs don't fit together, he has more trade value than he did prior to this extension. So all around, I think it's a win-win for Jarrett Allen and the Cavs. There's no real pushback on it. I'm not quite sure what you could call a negative of this deal. If you want to say Jarrett Allen's not worth $30 million, I just tell you to look at the other centers in the league and look at the contracts they're all getting this summer. I think he fits right in line with that. If you want to tell me that the two bigs will never work together, I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying Kenny Atkinson's going to get a first row seat to figure it out himself, and he's not going to rely on the opinions and the tape from last season when it was a system that really didn't even emphasize trying to get those two to work together, and they staggered each other's minutes so much they didn't even truly have a chance to try and play off each other. They were in and out of the lineup, and JB Bickerstaff, to his credit, staggered their minutes of the 30-ish minutes they both played. They only played about 16, 17 together. They spent essentially half their minutes staggered with each other. So we'll see how it all pans out. But all in all, the deal for the Cavs, it makes sense. I don't see the downside. You increase the player's value. And like I said, on the other side, not even the flip side, just the other side, you now have a good player, an all-star caliber center under contract on a great deal for the next 5 years. So we'll see what happens. I did see my guy Luca over at Real Cavs Fans, and I want to pull up this tweet for you. Talked about the salary of the Cavs starting lineup moving forward in 2025, 2026, when all of these extensions kick in. The Cavs starting lineup of Garland, Mitchell, Strus, Mobley, and Allen will cost the team $179 million, 179. Keep in mind the salary cap by itself, projected by Spotrac for that season, is $154 million. The luxury tax is $187 million, meaning that the starting five by itself is $8 million away from the luxury tax, and it is just $16 million away from the first apron. So the Cavs are going to have to be extremely, extremely prudent and smart in how they build out the rest of this roster with that expensive starting five now, because there is not much wiggle room on the fringes. And part of the reason the Cavs have been so hesitant to make any acquisitions in free agency this offseason is they simply don't want to go into the luxury tax and start the tax clock before they need to. It is unavoidable or unavoidable in the coming years with the extensions to Mobley and Allen, Mitchell, and Garland, but they can't avoid it this year, and they are doing everything in their power to make sure they do not go over that tax. I got time for a couple comments real quick. KW, hopefully I answered why this makes sense. He's either a good player on a valuable contract or he has made more trade value down the line. Soul Train says, I don't think the Cavs make any moves until the deadline. Yeah, I don't think. That's essentially what it is. Rob says they're locking him in with a valuable contract that's easily tradable. Yeah, that's essentially what this is. You're locking up a player on a good deal that if you want to move, now has more value on the trade market. So it is what it is. And Soul Train says, will they be forced to move Okoro before the deadline? I have no idea what's going to happen with Okoro. I think he should sign the long-term extension. I think that's valuable, but we'll see. We'll see. I got to run. We'll talk about this in more depth tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Jason and myself are on the show tomorrow, so we will have some more reaction. This was just my immediate thoughts, and I'll recap them one more time. Makes sense from the Cavs. Perfectly reasonable price tag for Jarrett Allen. If you keep him, it's a good deal for the player and how much he's valued in today's NBA. $30 million for a top 10 center is perfectly reasonable. If you want to trade him, he has more value now. But big picture, this now gives Kenny Atkinson and company a runway to see which players work in their system, which players don't, who should we keep, who should we trade. And we're going to have at least half the season to figure that out in front of our own eyes. We'll see you tomorrow on UCSS. Peace.